Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Fight Chat Friday from TKD Coach Academy. This week we're looking at, again, the Koper ITF World Cup and the minus 69 kilo senior male category. In this one we had Martin Gadea from Argentina take it the whole way, and some cracking matches along the way, including beating two of our better Irish competitors on the way there. So huge congratulations to Martin. Watch this with us, see what you think. We thought it was a fantastic performance.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 116 of Fight Chat Friday. So we're going to look at Martin Gadea in particular today from Argentina. So somebody who's been around the block a long time now. He's been competing since way before 2012 and won that World Cup as well in Brighton. So 10 years on and he wins the World Cup again. That's no easy feat, so that's good going. Somebody who's a crafty veteran, very, very clever. He knows how to get the job done, and we'll see that today in the final. And Martin sent us a couple of videos from his own footage as well. So the first two fights in particular are a little bit far away based on the live stream, but bear with us. We'll get some good angles and nice viewing for you guys in the later fights. But some tough matches in this, some good guys. Thomas, who is being thereabouts in final of the Worlds and things like that, and Euros and 57s. We have James from Ireland as well, who's a real crafty guy. Great final, close match. And we also have Sven from Slovenia, who's been thereabouts as well, who's a really good competitor. So he had no easy run to the final and to win this 69 division.
So kicking it off, that first round is against our own Thomas Fogarty. And as you said, has been silver medalist minus 57 in the World Championship. So this is a big step up in weights for him. But it can be a very crafty fighter and a very experienced team fighter as well. And, I thought Martin in this one was really took that principle of let's do the basic things exceptionally well and execute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that one there in particular, I don't know, was that a warning? Because Thomas went for the side kick and there was a spin, but he's good at linking up the hands and the legs, Thomas, usually. And Martin, he's a great ability of not being able to allow his opponent get that going, because his side kick is very, very effective. And then he's able to get the hands really quick. But when he gets the hands, his turning kick to the body is very, very quick. And sometimes we'll even see it today. He bangs in both of them before you even have a chance to react. But he's very crafty. His scores are very clean, and he knows when to switch it up between hands and legs in a good way.
Very interesting one there, and finding a front kick off the back leg, retreating from hands, and I have not seen anything like that in a while. Very, very inventive.
Yeah, and he was one of the first guys to invent this clash and go that we've seen, and Thomas is an absolute master at this himself. But he was one of the first guys. But Thomas, usually there off that one, the side kick going to hands, he'd drive people back. But Martin has a great ability to slip that head, get it out, and get back to hands himself. It's very rare that he gets pushed back. And he's not massive now. He's solid. He's a solid guy, but he's not massive for 69 either. And he's able to do really well to just hold his own. And if he does retreat like this, it's on his accord, and he bangs in the side kicks defensively too.
I think that the defensive side kick is definitely the key to his best scores in this one, as well as a couple of good exchanges with hands where he does gets himself in close and tidy. But the way he creates pressure with distance. And he's got he's able to kick the side kick from quite an upright position with quite a short, quite a short distance to the opponent, which means he's carrying the front hand over it very, very easily as well.
His front hand position is very, very good, and he's always there. I think that does help him too. There now, for example, to fire back quickly when it gets to hands, and there's a lot of people that have that lower front hand position. And he's able to just carry that nice and high, so it's effective on the attacking side and on the defensive side as well. But his pendulum side kick, or not really pendulum, sorry, his springboard side kick and front leg is very, very effective. We're going to see a lot of that today, especially from James in the final, being able to use that leg and go from shorter stances to be able to put pressure with the front leg.
And I'm sure as we go into round two, this is versus, well, actually it's his third match technically, because Madagascar didn't show. And this is against Dakota Martin from Canada. But I think his tracking is very, very good as well. He's not following his opponent. He creates an awful lot of pressure when his opponent tries to circle on him. And I think that's a very, very useful skill here as well.
Yeah, like a big improvement from Dakota as well in terms of his level. But I just think his distance is slightly off compared to Martin. And that's a big difference for me. He's shooting good shots and he's game, but he's just doing it from the wrong distance, like we see here.
Yeah.
He needs to just set things up a little bit more, and you can't get away with that against somebody as crafty as Martin Gadea.
I think he also has a little bit of a tell when he wants to go to hands. Unfortunately, he's dropping his chin before he goes,
Yeah.
and it's I think giving Martin all the time he needs to set up that defensive side kick, and unfortunately is kind of leaving Dakota a little bit just red. And it's one of those things you walk out of the ring afterwards and go, ooh, was I slow? Was I not as quick as I thought I was? And sometimes it's just a case of your opponent getting a good read on you.
Yeah, I just think Martin is just craftier at the game. He knows how to read the scoreboard. He knows the game better. And once he gets ahead, he's very good at just pulling around, using the ring, getting you to overcommit. And then you'll often see him pull you into defensive side kick, back kicks, or even just cutting the angle and going to hands himself, especially off that front hand.
For sure. Let's have a look into the quarterfinals. So this is against Sven from Slovenia. And again, this is Martin's own footage. So thank you for that.
Yeah, so like Sven is very, very good, and he's busy off that front leg. Very similar, obviously, comes from the stable of Thomas Fogarty. Very similar off that front leg in terms of his intensity. So this one starts off as a close match, but Martin gets in there really well and finds that double turning kick to the body. It's a rare shot. We don't see that too often, but he's very, very fast at getting that after hands.
Yeah, I don't know why this particular video on the last one just a little bit on the stuttery side, but again, like that, in the retreat from the side kick with very little limited space, he's finding the really good angle to find that back hip. And we often say that when a person is kicking there, no matter what, it's just the dynamics of the body. The backhand will float away from their hip. It won't, the elbow won't be tucked in against the ribs as the body angle changes. And you can very often find that tight angle, cut angle, turning kick underneath and find your way to the back hip. And if it lands, it does take the wind out of you as well.
Yeah, we don't see that too often in the European game, Adrian.
No,
it's like something, we mentioned it before, South Americans are very good at it, finding that shot, but it's something that we're not used to. So then when you come to the World Cup and even the World Championships, it's something that you have to deal with as a new problem.
And it's very hard to throw if you overcommit to the side, the side facing stance, let's say. So you need to be able to adjust the footwork to get it to fire. And very often it's not the shot that's being looked for. Oh yeah, there's your double turning kick to the body again.
That's the one. That's Miloš from Poland. That video is doing the rounds on Facebook this week actually as well.
I saw that.
We did. So that's one of his shots from that video.
Yeah, and you can only do that when you get square to your opponent so that both sides are available. It's very, very hard to do that. More normally it's find the angle. But what he has done is he's like, because Martin uses the side fighting stance most of the time, but when he drops off and he changes his angle, he's able to get himself into, prior to that one, he was show left, go right, and found that lovely angle onto the hip. So, maybe just making use of the fact that Sven really does want to lead with that side kick. He's so effective with it. He's offering it. Martin's using that old kind of psychological ply of, well, if you really want to hit me with a side kick, let me make it an opportunity for you so that you do throw it, and then I'm a little bit more sure of what the counter should be.
He's never at the end of the side kick.
Yeah.
He's either coming through off that front hand or he's pulling it in an angle left or right, which usually sets up his escape to the left side or his turning kick with the right.
Yeah.
So he's never at the end of that kick, which never allows Sven to really get going, especially like for people like Thomas, like Sven, who want to put pressure on that front leg, go with the front leg again, or use the front leg to get the hands, and he never gives his opponents that opportunity. Also because he's banged in them shots early in the match, so he's a big threat. So there's like the psychological thing as well, as like, if I commit the hands, there's a good chance I'm going to get picked off. So that's a big advantage and mental battle that he's already having won at that carries him into the matches. That gives a little bit of advantage to him.
What do you think as well? For me on this, we're just looking at how tall the body is as he finds that. So he has to, as he's punching, he's finding a way to keep his hips set back to find the range he needs for the turning kick. And I think that's quite a nice skill. We don't always see it, particularly as he goes to the left one, because he does have to find a way to keep his hips back far enough.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to Neil Ernest, I think, isn't it? The way he bangs in them turning kicks to the body. it's almost like I call it like a front turning kick. It's not
Mm,
really that traditional Dolly Chagi, let's say. It's kind
like
of like, remember a while ago you said it's
WT
a
45s.
yeah. You mentioned as well like a front kick to the body in the first
Yeah,
fight or the second fight, sorry, but it's very similar. It's like half and half between that front kick position and turning kick.
that's nicely done. So shifting into fourth gear here, fight for semi-final and up against Poland and Wozniak from Poland. And straight away, very, very, very similar problem solving.
Yeah, not somebody that I've come across
No.
before anyway, but I think that this shows in this one just the difference of experience. The jumping punch, very effective. It's not something that we forget these days, but very effective to get yourself up and above just as a visual to get that clearer shot. So, yeah, just like things like this, just the chasing and the turning kicks and the following. It's just something that Martin's not going to really fall for. He's going to dictate the pace and make you fall into his rhythm.
I suppose uncharacteristic for Polish fighter as well. Classically, very, very tight and tidy on the footwork. A little bit more loose, and again, I think that's just the age and experience, going on here. But like a little bit loose in the footwork, some trailing legs and so on, and it's giving Martin some good opportunities to follow, or to cut the angles as the back foot is drifting in from time to time.
100%.
Yeah.
You want more patient pressure. You don't want to be following and chasing because that's what happens. Martin's going to just pull you out and catch you on the chase. But I think as well, like we see a couple of clips where this Polish fighter attacks off the front leg with turning kick as opposed to side kick. Whereas we see Martin using his turning kick more on the follow on.
Yeah.
Or as a continuation shot. I don't think the turning kick from the front leg is a good option as an attacking shot like this. This is not a good option to close spacing and to using a good aggressive shot. No, this guy definitely no slouch. Obviously, getting to the semi-final of
And
the
the
World
score
Cup
is very
such a
close.
solid division. Yeah, so not taking anything away from him. Just a couple of things that obviously Martin isn't going to get caught with because of his experience and his ability.
But you can see where even even though the scores and it finishes up quite close, just that height differential does make it harder to get and to maintain that score differential against your opponent. You do certainly have some bit of a natural advantage when you're going in there and you're the taller fighter.
Yeah, some tall guys in that 69 division this time.
Absolutely. So let's have a look at that final. So again, we're on centre stage here, and this is up against James Tuite from Quinn in Ireland, and we were very, very much from our point of view backing James on this one and hoping he would do the business.
Yeah, and James is very, very crafty. You know, he's young, he's dynamic, he's kind of like no fear because he's like young and fearless as well. Where he's been around the block, and I think that experience will show at the end. But one of the big things about James is his shorter stance and ability to be able to kick from that shorter range is very deceptive, especially over that blindside turning kick to the head. He catches people a lot with that. But this is a very exciting match, back and forth, and Martin actually goes for it here towards the end of this first round, just puts a bit of pressure on there before we see that, because he knows that he needs to up the gears, and that's one of the big things about him. He knows when to go forward, he knows when to chill out. He's very crafty in that regard.
I think what he's done exceptionally well there is because it's a range game, James has that shorter stance, he can get quite a lot of reach on that front leg, but whenever Martin gets inside the range, it's keep going. So when he's backing up, he has no choice but to continue to back up. But if he finds his way inside that range, he's absolutely go. Great spell there out of James as well, creating some real pressure. But then Martin's inside and looking to reverse it. So like this one never was clear. Like it was as we were watching it, it was hanging in the balance the whole time. But a huge factor in this is Martin's distance. James is usually reliable to score one or two of those headshots off the front leg, and it set all of his previous matches apart, and he didn't get to land that on Martin. Martin was either too close or too far. The distance was really, really well maintained.
Here we see as well the last 40 seconds, Martin actually finds the front hand 4 times in a row, and I think that was the big difference maker. But here, this is the important part. Watch this. So last draw, he goes, he drives again, covers to the body so there's no score. And this is the warning that changes everything. So that experience, that know-how, that ability to read the board changes everything. And I think that was just the difference for me, just that experience and that know-how. Like James has been there before, he's competed internationally and he knows as well, but just, you can't buy experience.
No, and we can see here, so the moment to take the look. So there's the moment that looking at the board, and then it's the push through and cover, and then you can see eyes are on the board, let me figure this thing out. Can I afford to take a warning myself? Like that's the I think that's where you get to, you go, all right, I can afford it, because you can see he's backing up, he's willing to concede that warning. He knows it's not going to make the difference. So
and that's like when you read that board, them small little lines that tells you the differential, knowing that you can get one flag back and knowing the warnings is a key factor. And anybody that's really high level and that's been in finals and semi-finals consistently over the years, they'll know how to do that. And they know how to read that board, know the warnings, know if it makes a difference or not. Of course, your coach is a great help there as well, either shouting no warnings to concede or get the warning on either side. But he could have easily just settled for the draw there. And a lot of people, 90% of people would have.
Yeah,
2-2
absolutely.
Final of the World Cup.
And many coaches will say it to you as well, because there's a risk in going forward. Yeah. And it's a real
especially
risk.
Against James there, Martin covering up against the body, that could easily come over the top, especially against James, the turning kick to the head.
Or it hits the glove and the referee gives it anyway, or your umpire gives the score anyway, because we were seeing across the competition that feeling of, I heard it, I know that would have scored. That was a comment that came out from a couple of, not necessarily the least experienced, but there's a slightly different regional variation in the judging and how rigidly the rule of you have to see the tool hit the target kind of thing is applied. So it is taking a very real risk, and you always have to take your hat off and say, look, if you're willing to, when the chips are down and there's seconds left, go for the win and accept that it might not pay off, that might be your last hurrah, but it works out for you, all right, hats off, congratulations, you deserve it, well done.
Yeah, I think it's a couple of times now in this World Cup we've seen the value of that sprinting blitz coming to fruition, especially with gaining momentum and pushing your opponent backwards, whereas through warnings or getting them on the back foot so you can set up the high turning kick to the head. And that's a good few times that we've seen that. We've seen it with Sergey in the 63s, we've seen it here now with Martin, and we've seen it in a couple of other clips as well with the ladies. Yeah,
but I think the message that I'll take from that is, it's almost going back to our training of 15 years ago and going like, okay, there's still value in that turning kick to the body. We've seen the Argentinians put that out there all World Cup, and and find great value and great return off of that turning kick to the body. But it's clear, that we're not talking about a messy shot into the hands. We're talking about a clear shot into an open target, and it's finding
in flow.
Return.
In flow, it's a great shot, but not as an entry shot. Let's say
no.
It's in flow or as an exit shot, but don't use that as an entry shot. It's not going to be of good value to you.
Definitely not. And with that, we'll say congratulations to Martin Gadea on 2 World Cups, 10 years apart. Huge achievement. And anytime you go out into the ring in an ITF Major Championships and win 5 fights, super work.
Yeah. And he's retired before he's told us as well. So to come back, do it again. So you know what I mean. That takes a lot. So credit to him. Good job, Martin Gadea.
Well done. And we'll see everybody next Friday.
All right. See you in the next one, guys.
Bye now.